revolution that will be fueled by education.
Poverty of independent mind.
Become the enabler. My name is Nnamdi Akwada. I'm originally from Nigeria. I've been in the United States now for some years. We're introducing two shows. One is called Diaspora Voices, and the second show is called Our Perspective. This is an opportunity for us to be able to add to the discourse within the African culture, within the African diaspora. We believe that after obtaining our educations and after being here for some time, that we need to provide the avenues to contribute to the development of the African continent, and we need to be hands-on in achieving that. The African continent is undergoing a renaissance, and we believe that our voices, our perspective needs to be added onto the furtherance of that renaissance. Thank you. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the show Diaspora Voices, and with us today are two distinguished panelists. We have Mariam Diallo Haywood from the Green, White and Blue Commission. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you for having me.
And beside her, we have Yemin Falusi, an attorney in the Washington, D.C. area and a member of the Occupy Nigeria movement and the diaspora. Yemin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm not sure I'm distinguished, but thank you for saying that.
Okay, you're distinguished in our eyes, well, anyway.
Appreciate that.
Thanks. We want to start. We created this show as a way to impute our voices to some of the dialogues and the dispositions on the continent. We've been here, we've come here, we've had the education, we've had the exposure. Some of us were born here of Africans, just like you, Mariam, of Africans that came, so you're basically a first generation diasporan here. So we wanted a situation where we can be able to input to the frame some of the discussions going on back in the continent. So today's topic that we're going to explore extensively is the issue of poverty in the continent. Do we have, in terms of our economic situation, do we have a poverty or a surplus problem on the continent?
Well, unfortunately, the two coexist in most African countries. We are rich in resources, but we have a high poverty level in most African countries. You'll find that our natural resources are used in most industrialized products that are sent abroad.
Definitely. Like your cell phones?
Exactly, our cell phones, or just the rutile. I mean, we're known for gold and diamonds, but of course the African continent is rich with other elements. You have rutile, you have oil now all up and down the west coast of Africa. So it's an unfortunate plight in our continent where we can be so rich in these natural resources, but we can still have poverty level that is beyond one's imagination.
Definitely. Yemin, what do you think about?
Yeah, well, I agree with what my sister here just said. I think in regarding to surplus, no one will question it. Africa is the most endowed continent, and we have everything possible: oil, gold, diamonds, bitumen, anything that you could imagine to use basically for advancement of human rights. We have it in abundance in Africa. However, we have the poverty. I think the poverty is poverty of independent mind.
Okay.
Because if we are very rich in independent mind, in freedom of our mind, that is, Africa will be completely rich. Everybody will be coming to us. So I think that's what I want to say about our poverty. The poverty comes from poverty of free mind. Our mind, we're basically enslaved, and we are unable to use what we have to better ourselves.
as some have described it as colonial mentality, the fact that we have all these resources but we're unable to actualize those resources and use it for our own benefits rather than the benefits of other people outside. So in reference to that, the mindset of being able to tap into these resources, where will we play the fault lines? Is the issue based on the citizenry, or is it based on our rulers or our leaders? Where would you place the fault lines?
I would say it's a combination of all. Politically, you'll find that our leaders, I wouldn't generically say that they are corrupt, but you have a lot of corrupt governments within the African continent. The social thread of most African countries, you'll find that we want to emulate what's going on in the Western countries. The combination of all those things you'll find as being one of our major issues will contribute to our poverty.
Well, yeah, again, I agree with that. I think we have issue of leadership.
Okay.
But I think it's the fault of the followership.
The followership, okay. Explain that.
What I mean about that is very simple. I'll break it to you. If I come to, if you invited me over, or I just to come to your house, okay, I took whatever I want from your refrigerator. Today, I left. You didn't see anything. Tomorrow, I came, took whatever I want. You didn't see anything. I left. The next day, I'm going to come and take it, and you won't say anything. That is just human nature.
So you're saying it's a pattern that
it is a pattern, because they stole, they mismanaged our money. We didn't say anything. Okay. We sat there, looking at them doing it. So what do you expect?
So in essence, you're saying we'll become the enablers, we'll become the people that create the framework for all these things to happen.
Exactly. That is exactly what is going on. We're an enabler of what is going on. The day we stop expecting this is the day that we will rise up, regardless of whatever bumps is placed in front of us to stop us from rising up. Mm-hmm. I'm very glad of the Occupy DC movement that happened. With a lot of people that rose up. I was very, very happy with my country. However, I think we didn't maintain the struggle. The momentum. Yeah. It's not something that you're just going to do one day and stop it. It has to be a continuous momentum. It may take generations, but we need to keep the momentum going. We need to keep the heat on, I'm not sure we're doing that right now. And so that's where I place the fault. We allow our rulers, I don't call them leaders anymore, because I don't think they need anything. They don't even know what it's called.
Leadership. Yeah.
Exactly. They don't know
vacuum leadership.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So they cause a problem, but it's our fault.
It's our fault. Mariama, based on what he just said, in terms of we being the enablers, we setting the framework for all these things to happen, how do we set up mechanisms to be able to inform our people, to let them know that they have an input to what happens at the end of the day, and they have to demand better for the African continent?
Well, the revolution that will be fueled by education. Okay. We have to educate, because if you take a look at, I can only speak to Sierra Leone just in this particular instance, but you have 10 years of civil war where kids went uneducated. So you have a group of individuals who are almost illiterate. And there's a saying that if you want to hide something from someone, put it in a book. Yeah. Right? So we have to be able to educate individuals so that they can look more to their politicians, to their leaders, to their rulers, and expect more than just electricity, water, the basic necessities that we feel in the diaspora are just given to us. Politicians generally run on that particular that base. That is what they come out. They promise you electricity, they promise you water, and that's your candidate. So we need to look into having to educate people to know that there's more in life to that.
So we need to set the bar higher than that.
We need to set the bar a whole lot higher than that.
For mediocrity, basically.
Yes, the basic necessities. Yes. So yeah, we definitely need to raise the bar.
Again, I agree with that. However, I depart a little bit, because I think the reason why some of these people just give me water and electricity, light. That's what we need. And they're not even giving that.
Okay.
So what I would tell people is, if I'm asking you for electricity and water, the most minimum to basically live a dignified life, if I'm asking you for that, when you get there, if I don't see, these are the things that you can see. This is not like
tangible.
Exactly, tangible. They're not like healthcare laws that that you cannot process. This you can see with your eye. If they are not giving it to you, if they are not setting the parameters, like in a year you will get this, and after that if they're not giving that to you, then let's rise up every time. Let's be in their faith. Let me give you an example a little quickly. I was speaking with a friend. Actually, I was reading something, and the president of Nigeria, the current president, Goodluck Jonathan, he, because of the Boko Haram issues,
and for those of you who don't know, Boko Haram happens to be the issue that is going on currently within northern Nigeria and spreads all the way through the Sahel and Sahara Desert area of the African continent. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to buttress what you were saying and to buttress my added point. So the president recently just really got upset, and you could see this body language when he was giving a speech. So he gave a speech that those who murdered our security operatives, we will find them, we will fish them out, and we will kill them, right? But do you see what is really missing here? Yes, I'm glad that he got, he rose up and got the passion. But what was missing there? What was missing there, to buttress his point, was a lot of people were giving him credit for that, because we expect we don't set the bar
the
high.
minimum.
We don't set the bar high. However, why would you say security operative? You could add more to that. The people that those people killed, not just security operators.
More than 3,000 lives have been lost.
Go after it.
5,000.
Say that the people that kill the citizen of your country, not just security operators.
Exactly.
That's number one. That was, people did pick that up, and because all this is in the language and how you rule. The second was, and we will kill them. What is that? That's extrajudicial killing. That is exactly what is basically killing the country, and basically, killing most African countries. Like, we have laws. You can't just say we will kill them.
So, in other words, you're saying there has to be, in as much as we expect more from them, we have to, hold sacrilege the sanctity of the African life.
So many things. And so in that line, to me, a lot of people were happy at that. Like, no, I wasn't. I'm glad she said that, because we expect the minimum. We shouldn't be expecting. She should, he should do more than that. And from what he's saying, I really don't have confidence in this guy because of what he just said. Like, security operative, that's the only people you're going to mention. The Boko Haram have been killing thousands. They kill thousands every time. And then at the end, you say, we'll find them and kill them. No. Why are you saying you bring justice to them? Not just kill them. So, and that's why I say sometimes, like, we don't get to it's just a lot of mind issues. I believe that we have to really think thoroughly, have a philosophical mind of how we want our society to be, and then use that as a backdrop to judge whatever is going on.
Oh, no, definitely. We're going to take a break and we're going to be right back.
Thank you.
I have a dream that one day the children of this great nation will look forward to a much brighter future. One day we can fully utilize the resources of this great nation to its full potential. I have a dream. One day it go better for Naija. Money go circulate like to go there. One day, we no go need to jam. Come on to Naija. You don't take, I feel like
like it today. It's still the same guys, still the same lies, still the same breed, still the same greed, still the same promise. 10 years in office, make no change except for their pockets. They really don't care, and we don't neither. We'd rather just chill, watch them deceive us. Trust in God, that's what they teach us. Idolize leaders, ballers, preachers, and don't ask questions, else they'll kill. Watch them loot, they rob, they steal. All the resources under our nose. Can't blame them, it's a position we chose. Stay subdued, modern day slaves, living like ish in these modern day caves. We must say no, that's the solution. New day, new way, new revolution. Hey, one day we go better. All night, John, morning to separate. Light today, one day, we go need to jump. No, not tonight, John. It's been about 50 years of this struggle. Been a long time we've been on this hustle. It's almost as if said we know one grow. People did lead us just to make dough. Cause if like no day, generator must sell. And if you get gen, you must to buy fuel. And to buy fuel, no be small matter. Without borehole, you know if you get clean water. So how poor man supposed to do business? How small child supposed to fight sickness? For hospital drugs, you know they. And if you get one, you must to first pay. Now our education don't they fall short. All skilled workers just won't come out. This kind of system, you know, sustainable. It is not sustainable. One day, we go better. Online, John, morning to separate. Like today, one day, we don't go need to job. No more tonight, John. Oh no, we don't take. I feel like baby today. Me, I go young, I go still, they speak my mind for all the basic amenities.
Welcome again to our show, Diaspora Voices, where we have the input of the African diaspora in the dialogue and the political situations back on the African continent. Before we left off, we were talking about the issues of the African leadership and how they've retarded the issues of our economic development. In reference to that, the leadership and the mindset of the populace, how the leadership of the African continent, most African countries have, the average African country has been independent, quote unquote, because we've been independent from infinity, but we've been independent for the average African country has been independent for the last 50 years. Yeah. So, Mariam, when are we gonna rise up above that infantile expectation? When are we going to take it up to the next level? When you think about countries in South Asia, when you think about countries that we started with, you know, countries like Singapore, you know, that we started with, our GDP was much higher than them. They considered developed countries now. Right. So when do you think we're going to get to that level of, or that mentality and say we need more and we expect more and we're going to get more?
Well, we are, and the continent is emerging. It has an emerging economy. Just to throw out some facts, the GDP of the top 30 African countries were well above 10%. Other countries grow at 3% a year. Mm-hmm. So it's an emerging economy. Most African countries have to recognize the fact that it is a global economy. Yeah. So I always try to take a look at India, for example. Yeah, India is known as the outsourcing capital of the world now. What is it that India has that most African countries don't have? You know, why is it that we cannot take our natural resources and expand it in a way that will cause our economy to grow?
Tap into the global market.
Exactly. It goes back to what we spoke about a little bit earlier, corrupt governments. How do we get from around that? And again, my platform is education. It's the only way that we can get ourselves into another 50 years and the blueprint looks different from what it looks from 2013.
Okay. In terms of education, you find out that when there's a general consensus that because of the economic situation and the inability of our rulers, like you said earlier, to invest in education, that there's been a walling off of educational achievement and performances and things like that. How do you envisage we in the diaspora being able to help out and reactivate the educational standards and the progress back home?
Thank you. That's a great question. You say inability. Well, just go back a little bit to what you said. You say inability of our leader, of our rulership to do anything. I say refuser.
Refuser.
Exactly. Refuser and stupidity. And I wanted to add to what my sister said earlier, like education. Basically, if you want to do anything in this, is education, information, knowledge. Knowledge is key. If you don't have it, you don't have it. So how do we now bring that to our African brethren that are living in poverty, suffering, and stuff like that? If the leaders won't do it, there's no any other way they could get it but through us, African diaspora. And I'm sure that's the reason why you're actually having this show.
Definitely.
And that is the question that I throw out there. All of us need to start thinking it. I don't have answer to it, or there's no one answer to that. That is a challenge for how do we go around corruption of our leaders? How do we educate our people? So how do we bring education to them? How do we enlighten them? Not just education, because we have a whole lot of, they call themselves educated.
So in other words, you're saying we need to circumvent, we need to go around our rulers.
Go around our rulers.
Yeah. So, Myra, this is the education or technological highway, like they say. This is the technological age. The average African now has a mobile device where they can key on the internet, their cell phones, they're doing financial transactions. How do we use that means to impact the development back there in terms of education, and so that we can spur up the economic situation back in the continent?
That's a difficult question, Naldi. I really don't have an answer for that one. That particular question, I think I'm taken aback by, because I understand the use of social media back home. I mean, I see the posts on Facebook quite often. I'm not really sure how you go about using that to influence, other than having them want to emulate those individuals like us in the diaspora that are doing well, they're educated, and how do you get that in front of them so that they can see that you want to emulate someone who's gone to school, who's doing well, who actually gives back to their country? Or do you want to emulate rap stars and NBA players or sports figures? I'm not really sure how you do that, and the only way I can think of it is through social media.
Okay, so you're saying we have to have a voice, but you don't know how we're going to balance it in terms of moving forward.
I have two things in mind. It's a very hard question, like she said, and I'm not sure this is the answer to these two items, are the answers to your question. First of all, in Africa, in any countries, we do have some group of people that are educated, that they're agitating for betterment of African
social justice.
For social justice, and this is where we can come in. We can partner with those people. Partnership like the diaspora here, partnership with those people, and get information around. And then tell them.
And the social network makes it easier for
social network makes it easier, and tell them, because sometimes you really can't force feed information to people. But there's a way to phrase things and get your information around and get people to start thinking just beyond themselves. Yeah. Like if that politician just promised you 50,000, do you know how much he's making from that?
He can't spare that amount.
Exactly. Yeah. So partnership between some society in Africa because not everybody in Africa is bad. You know what I mean? There are people there agitating.
There's nice spots in terms of development and
exactly. So the diaspora, we need to connect with that. Secondly, we in diaspora, because there is a power in example. Most of us, when we go home, be it like Liberia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Kenya, or whatever, we go home, we actually, from my own anecdotal example, that we actually don't teach the people there what they should expect. We actually try to live the life of people that they live up to, because they look up to us. Like, wow, you're from America, and you see Americans go there, like people like us go there and behave like that.
So we'll go and feed the stereotype.
Exactly,
we live up to a hype.
We live up to a hype. We try to hang around the leaders that are the rulers that are killing the country against the people that you go to Nigeria, you fake the farm.
We want to be among the elites.
Exactly, you want to be among the elites. You go around with them and
hang out with their children and them, and
this is what happened. And then you get here and you start agitating, like so there is power in example. Like. That's what Jesus did. If you're a Christian, that's what Jesus did. He lived by. That's what Muhammad did. He lived by example. If any other religion, it is so powerful. No matter what I say to you, if I'm not behaving as such, you won't believe me. Trust me.
Definitely.
And that goes into what I was saying earlier. We need to be able to give them something to emulate versus. Do you emulate those individuals on TV, or do you emulate individuals who you see are doing something? And we tend to, as you mentioned, we go back home and we do, participate in nightlife and not really go out and volunteer. Or do other things with NGOs when we get home.
Or we live in the segregated areas, the reservation, GRAs, the government reservation areas, the exquisite areas, and don't mingle.
And don't mingle at all, exactly. So, I mean, it's a balance.
It's a balance. Speaking of Kenya, Maramia, and people rising up and agitating, a couple of weeks ago we had a situation where there was a protest in front of the parliament in Kenya, and what happened was that the citizenry, the people that were fed up of what was going on, they decided, as a symbol of their annoyance and their refusal to go along with the status quo, they brought in pigs, and they also painted red blood on the streets to show that the members of those parliaments were sucking the country dry, that they were sucking the country dry, that all the resources were going towards catering for them, because most of Kenya is notorious for that, Nigeria is notorious for that. The average member of the Kenyan Assembly or the Congress in Nigeria or the National Assembly in Nigeria, they make more than elected officials even in so-called industrial countries. So they went and they said, enough is enough. What do you think about that kind of a protest?
Well, I mean, it's just the people having a revelation. I mean, sorry, a revolution. It's being fed up, being tired of the status quo. And we need more of that type of behavior, more of that type of thinking in order to stimulate change.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, in terms of that linkage between the diaspora and the African continent, there's always that friction. There's that tendency for those of them back home to think that we feel like we know it all, and for us to think, okay, we've been exposed here, and they have much to be learned from us. So how do you think we're going to bridge that gap? We're going to let them know that what they want and what we want are in the same line, and we're not competing, and what we want is for the betterment of the African continent.
That's an amazing observation from your side, and I've noticed that too. And I think is the ability to see beyond yourself, and the ability to go to a place and not wanting to be the leader, just be part of people.
The change.
Yeah, be part of the change. I believe we have to do more to embrace those in Nigeria that are agitating for change. We have to do more to embrace them, not them doing more to embrace us. And because we have a point that we're trying to drive, like, oh, let's get Nigeria better. So it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about me. Let's go there. I want to be part of the people on the street that are conversing around and knocking on the doors. I don't want to be in office. No, because when you start being in office, start blowing grammar, you're rubbing them off. Like, oh, you think? Who do you?
In Nigeria, they call it ajebota.
Exactly. Exactly. So who do you think you are? So I'm not gonna go to Nigeria and then if you go to Nigeria, you start blowing your grammar, start acting like you don't understand what is.
You don't want to speak pidgin English.
You don't want to speak it. Speak pidgin English. Speak Yoruba. Speak Hausa. Like you relate to them. This is how we get people to. How you rile people up. Because again, I think a lot of people don't behave like that because they don't. It's very hard to place anything above themselves. You have to learn how to put something above yourself, which is our problem, which is the problem of our rulers. They cannot really place anything above
especially the people.
Especially the people, especially the philosophy. What kind of society do you want to see? You come to the West, you see all these beautiful things, you go to the East, then why don't you want to duplicate it? Emulate the right things. So first of all, to get beyond that friction, we have to give a front that is very humble, that they are my counterpart. I'm not bigger than you. It's only America that just make my skin look fresher than your skin.
The cold in America.
And then this thing we have to continuously talk about that. Like, when you're talking to your friends over the phone, the way you relate to them, you're not talking down. You're exchanging idea. You're telling them that idea is good. That's a better idea. Maybe better idea than mine. You don't have to say better idea than you, but let's do your idea. And I will just be a supporter. So yeah.
Speaking of that, Mariama, you have been responsible for creating that synergy between the African diaspora and the people back home on the continent. Like we said earlier in the introduction, you're one of the founding members of the GWB Commission, the Green, White and Blue Commission. Tell us about what some of the things you guys have done through that auspices.
So we're in our 5th year of the Green, White and Blue Ball. Originally, when I came up with the idea 5 years ago, it was an opportunity for us to celebrate our independence here in the diaspora, bringing everybody under the one roof, and just having a gala where people felt proud of being Sierra Leonean. We've accomplished that, and the brand has built. We've started out with 400 guests. We brought in, I think, about 1,200 guests this past
1,200
April. 1,200, yes. And it's an opportunity for us to just really come together, all ages. You'll find your aunt, your auntie, your uncle,
everybody,
everyone, under one roof. One of the things that we do every year is we try to highlight Sierra Leoneans who are doing something in the world front, right? This year we honored Dr. Yemkele with a Lifetime Achievement Award, and this man is, just reading about him and meeting him, he's very humble and could possibly be Sierra Leone's next president.
Wow, is that a prophecy, or is that
it's a prophecy. I mean, I'm speaking into existence.
Okay, let's make sure we tell our audience you heard it first. What's his name again?
Dr. Yemkele.
Dr. Yemkele might likely be the Sierra Leonean president one day. Go ahead.
One day. And then we also honored Lisa Renner of the Visal Foundation. We honored Michaela de Prince. I mean, a lot of people saw her on Dancing with the Stars. We honored Ola Cisse. She was Sierra Leone's flag bearer. Yes, she was. And actually, she's just like me, born here, but wanted to give her talents to her native country. We also find a worthy nonprofit who is doing something back home, and this year we honored Throne Organization. They were our benefactor of proceeds for our ball. Again, it was a vision where I just really wanted us to come together and just recognize that as Sierra Leoneans in the diaspora, that we can come together, and we have a huge pull from all over the country.
Okay. On that note, and in reference to what we've been discussing so far about the issue of the bridge between poverty and surplus, any final words from you guys? Hear me?
Well, I just believe that it begins with us, and you know, we that, like my sister say, educated, and it begins. It should begin with basically questioning yourself. Where do you want to go? I believe in a drop of water makes an ocean. I believe in that because you know, you have to start from the scratch. So it begins with us. It begins with our mind. It's where do we want Nigeria to go, and how do we get there? And are you resilient enough not to succumb to any criticism that is going to come your way, or anybody that may be jealous and put so many things? Are you resilient enough to see to
definitely
go
they're going to come?
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, the little thing that we could change in our attitude is when we go home. That's when we go home.
We lead by example.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's lead by example. There is no need to live a life that is basically oppressing those people that are already there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, we need to basically.
And the irony is that most of us work so hard. Some of the people that show off the most are people that, you know, are basically in bondage in terms of the hours they have to work for those resources they go and splash back home.
Thank you. You know, that's number one. Number two, we need to never back down. What I mean about that is, like, you know, I have families, I have friends, you know, shut up, blah, blah, like, okay, or you're talking to some Nigerian, oh, that's how it's done. Nobody questions anything. Yeah. What do you mean that's how it's done? Oh, you're sorry to Christians out there, your pastor is doing this, oh, don't question my pastor. Like,
pastor is God.
There is nothing wrong in questioning. So we need to basically encourage that, because we don't question Africans, and that's why one of our rulers are like, we don't question that. Even our parents at home, we don't question that. And then when you
our culture,
exactly our culture, and when they don't get questioned, guess what? They take that unquestionability aura, they take it to work. Who are you to question them at work? No society survives without accountability, questioning. So we need to learn how to do that. We need to learn how to do that first, and we need to constantly tell people. You never know who. You know, you may change one mind or two minds. Hey, that's part of it. Yeah. So that's how I believe that the littlest way you can, you can do whatever you need to do to help to bridge the gap and to join up with the progressive at home to get anything done. And there are more to that. If you want to join any organizations here that is about bringing awareness to Africa, that's another route to go. But personal example, goes a long way.
And Marima, one final words. You're one of the stellar examples of people that have formed organizations. Any final words from you?
To piggyback off of what he said, it's fighting against the status quo. Again, as he mentioned, questioning, recognizing that African countries need to play within a global economy. Yeah. Making use of our natural resources and being able to move away from the corruptness that we may find in some of our governments. Those are the main things that will get us where we need to be in a few years or a couple of, in our future. Education again. I mean, it's the key, and this, as you mentioned, it is very important. It's the only way that we can educate ourselves and free our minds from what it is that our colonialism from the past. Those are the main things that we need to take away.
Once again, thanks for coming to our first episode of Diaspora Voices. Like we said earlier, this show is a unique opportunity for the African diasporas to be able to contribute to the discourse back home, to be able to deal with, colonial mentality and mental slavery, to be able to rectify some of the wrongs and ills in our society. And I thank you, Marima, for coming.
Thank you, Nandi, for having
me. And Yemi, thank you. It's an honor for having you guys.
It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.